Most people believe financial security arrives suddenly. One day you wake up, check your account, and feel safe. But money rarely works that way. Financial confidence does not arrive as a windfall. It emerges quietly after a specific internal shift takes place. That shift does not begin with wealth. It begins with relief. There is a point in someone's financial life where money stops feeling like an emergency and starts feeling like a tool, where decisions are no longer driven by urgency, fear, or exhaustion, where thinking about the future no longer triggers anxiety. This transition happens far earlier than most people expect. It does not require six figures. It does not require luxury. It does not require status. It requires separation from scarcity. Scarcity is not defined by income. It is defined by how much margin exists between a person and financial disruption. Modern life keeps people close to that edge. Rent adjusts upward faster than wages. Healthcare costs are unpredictable. Transportation expenses fluctuate. A single unexpected bill can destabilize an entire month. When that happens repeatedly, the brain adapts. It learns to operate defensively. Neuroscience shows that prolonged financial stress narrows cognitive focus. Decision-making becomes reactive. Risk tolerance drops. Long-term planning fades. People prioritize immediate certainty over future advantage. This is not a personality flaw. It is a biological response. When money feels unstable, the brain prioritizes survival. That state is incompatible with growth. A person living with constant financial pressure does not lack discipline or intelligence. They lack bandwidth. Every decision is filtered through the question of what might go wrong. Over time, this creates a pattern. People avoid risks that could improve their future because they cannot afford failure. They stay in roles that drain them because change feels dangerous. They delay investing because volatility feels threatening. Even small financial choices become emotionally charged. Purchases are second-guessed. Bills are checked repeatedly. Savings are rated at the first sign of discomfort. This is what scarcity looks like in practice. Then something changes. Not suddenly, not dramatically, quietly. A buffer appears. For many people, that buffer emerges around $20,000. This amount is not powerful because of what it can buy. It is powerful because of what it prevents. It absorbs shocks. It delays panic. It buys time. Time is the most underestimated financial asset. When a person has several months of expenses set aside, their nervous system responds differently to uncertainty. Stress hormones decrease. Attention widens. Perspective returns. Instead of asking how to get through the next 30 days, the brain starts considering the next 3 years. This shift has measurable effects. Behavioral finance research consistently shows that individuals with adequate emergency savings demonstrate higher risk tolerance in productive areas. They invest more consistently. They negotiate compensation more effectively. They change jobs more strategically. The presence of savings alters behavior even if the money is never touched. It creates psychological distance between a person and financial catastrophe. That distance changes everything. Career decisions become intentional rather than desperate. A person can evaluate opportunities based on trajectory instead of immediate pay. They can afford short-term discomfort for long-term advantage. This is why income alone does not predict wealth accumulation. Two people can earn the same salary. One accumulates assets. The other remains stagnant. The difference is not discipline. It is margin. Without margin, money decisions are constrained by fear. With margin, they are guided by strategy. $20,000 represents enough margin for most households to exit financial triage. At this level, unexpected expenses do not collapse the system. They are absorbed. This changes how people relate to work. A job becomes a source of income, not survival. That distinction affects posture, communication, and confidence. People with savings negotiate differently. They are less likely to accept unfavorable terms. They are more likely to seek advancement. They tolerate less dysfunction. This is not arrogance. It is security. Security reduces compliance. It increases leverage. Leverage does not require power. It requires options. Savings create options. The ability to wait is one of the most powerful economic advantages a person can have. Waiting allows better decisions. It allows comparison. It allows patience. Impatience is expensive. People without savings pay more for everything. They accept higher interest rates. They miss discounts. They make rushed purchases. They prioritize speed over value. This is not because they do not understand math. It is because urgency overrides optimization. Once urgency disappears, efficiency improves naturally. Spending patterns shift as well. When money is scarce, people focus on small expenses. They track coffee purchases. They stress over subscriptions. They debate minor upgrades. This creates the illusion of control while ignoring the largest variables. Housing, transportation, education, and debt structure dominate long-term financial outcomes. Micro-optimizations do not. With savings in place, attention moves upward. People begin evaluating systems rather than transactions. They assess where money leaks structurally instead of emotionally. This is not about deprivation. It is about allocation. The presence of savings also changes how people perceive risk. Risk is often misunderstood as danger. In reality, risk is uncertainty. When resources are limited, uncertainty feels threatening. When resources are sufficient, uncertainty becomes optional. This is why investors with stable finances can tolerate volatility. Losses do not threaten their identity or security. They understand variance. They expect fluctuations. They do not panic. This is not superior intelligence. It is emotional insulation. Savings insulate decision-making. At $20,000, compounding also becomes noticeable. Returns are no longer abstract percentages. They produce visible results. An 8% return on a few $100s feels symbolic. The same return on a larger base feels tangible. This reinforces patience. People continue investing not because they are disciplined, but because they see evidence. Behavior follows feedback. This is how habits form. The most important habit in personal finance is consistency. Consistency emerges when outcomes feel meaningful. Savings create that threshold. Another shift occurs at this level. Identity changes. People stop seeing themselves as financially fragile. They begin seeing themselves as financially capable. This identity shift matters more than any spreadsheet. Once someone believes they can accumulate money, their behavior aligns with that belief. They save automatically. They invest without hesitation. They avoid unnecessary debt. They stop chasing appearances. Status purchases lose their appeal when internal security replaces external validation. This is why many high earners remain financially unstable. Income without identity change leads to lifestyle inflation. Spending rises to meet earnings because the underlying relationship with money remains unchanged. Savings interrupt this cycle. They create proof of control. Proof builds confidence. Confidence reduces impulsive spending. Impulsive spending is rarely about enjoyment. It is often about relief. People buy things to momentarily escape anxiety. When anxiety decreases, the urge to spend decreases. Savings reduce financial anxiety. This leads to calmer consumption. Purchases become deliberate. Satisfaction increases. Regret decreases. This also affects relationships. Money is a leading source of conflict because it represents uncertainty. When uncertainty decreases, tension decreases. People with savings argue less about money because fewer decisions feel urgent. This stability compounds socially as well. The benefits of savings are not limited to emergencies. They extend into opportunity. Opportunities often require upfront cost or delayed payoff. Education, relocation, entrepreneurship, career pivots. Without savings, these paths feel inaccessible. With savings, they become negotiable. This is why wealth tends to cluster, not because of favoritism, but because resources unlock optionality. Optionality creates exposure to upside. Exposure compounds. This dynamic is often mistaken for privilege. In reality, it is the mathematics of margin. Savings also protect against downward spirals. Financial setbacks often cascade. A missed payment leads to fees. Fees lead to debt. Debt leads to stress. Stress leads to poor decisions. Savings interrupt this chain. They prevent temporary issues from becoming permanent problems. This preservation effect is rarely discussed, but it is critical. Avoiding losses matters more than chasing gains. Behavioral. Finance confirms that losses have a stronger emotional impact than gains of equal size. Savings reduce exposure to losses. They stabilize the base. Once the base is stable, growth becomes possible. This is why $20,000 functions as a psychological breakpoint. Below it, energy is spent maintaining balance. Above it, energy can be directed toward growth. This does not mean life becomes easy. It means problems change category. Instead of survival problems, people face optimization problems. Optimization problems are solvable. Survival problems consume. The difference matters. At this level, people also begin to value time differently. They are less willing to trade years of freedom for short-term comfort. They understand opportunity cost. They recognize that every major purchase has a future value attached to it. This awareness does not lead to deprivation. It leads to prioritization. People choose what aligns with their long-term goals. This alignment creates satisfaction. The pursuit of money becomes less frantic and more strategic. Ironically, this is when wealth accelerates. Not because people work harder, but because they stop working against themselves. Savings eliminate friction. They allow focus. Focus produces results. This process does not require extraordinary income. It requires consistency and patience. Most people can reach this threshold over time if they prioritize margin over consumption. The challenge is not mathematical. It is behavioral. Society rewards visible success, not invisible stability. Savings are invisible. They do not signal status. They do not attract attention, but they change outcomes quietly. The most financially resilient people often look ordinary. Their advantage is internal. They have space to think, space to wait, space to choose. This is the foundation of long-term wealth. Not luck, not brilliance, not access, margin. $20,000 represents enough margin to change how the brain relates to money. From fear to strategy, from reaction to design, from survival to control. That transition is not glamorous, but it is transformative. And once it happens, the trajectory rarely reverses, because the most powerful return on savings is not interest. It is freedom of thought.